please subscribe and don't forget to press the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload a new video.
Hi guys, good afternoon. This is Business Lunch. I'm Sonia and with me is Mangalam. Things are looking pretty good, Mangalam. It's almost a triple century on the Sensex and a century on the Nifty. So looks like the bulls are going to go home happy today.
The bulls looks like it is going to go, they're going to go happy today. It'll be very interesting to see how the last hour pans out as well, given that there are 57% shorts in the system. Will there be enough for them to run for cover or not? But the good part is the global markets, they're not doing too bad either. The Asian markets, most of Asia ended in the green, closer to the higher end of the trading range. Hang Seng, in fact, was up about 600 points yesterday as well, added another 300 points to that. The European markets, they have opened well as well. Remember, yesterday they closed in the red, both the CAC as well as the FTSE after the Bank of England as well as the ECB held on to the interest rates, did not do much about there, but we're seeing a 50 basis point increase out there, 0.5% on all the three frontline indices. And the Dow futures, after rallying 100 points yesterday, that one indicates we could be up for another 70-80 points on the upside today too.
Absolutely. And you know, there are macro positives, right? I mean, crude has fallen overnight. It's now back at $78 a barrel. So you're seeing all these oil marketing companies, aviation stocks, etc. do pretty well. But since we're talking about the macros, the big cue now, amidst rising fuel prices and a depreciating rupee, the Prime Minister is likely to hold a crucial meeting tomorrow to take stock of the economy. A top government official told CNBC-TV18, and I quote, "We have to hold our nerve." According to the sources, the government is of the view that it can't take panic steps on either the rupee or fuel. So the big question we're asking is, will the Prime Minister announce any measures at all this weekend, or are they just going to hold fire? Shireen Bhan joins in now with a quick check on all the key issues. Shireen, over to you.
There is a crucial meeting that the Prime Minister is holding on Saturday with top government ministers and officials to review the economy. The message that we are getting from our sources is that while the government is vigilant and weighing its options, it will only act when it feels appropriate. So the message is that they may hold fire for now. The sense is that there is no need for a knee-jerk reaction on the rupee because the economic fundamentals continue to remain strong, and also very mindful, especially within the finance ministry, that fiscal prudence is crucial to ensure that bond yields don't spike further and that the rupee stabilizes. In fact, the finance ministry is clear that it wants to stick to the fiscal deficit target. But remember, it is an election year, so eventually this will require political support and a political call. Specifically on the issue of oil, political demand in the first quarter was to lower fuel prices by almost 5 rupees a litre. Now, the demand was that the centre cut excise by 2 rupees, the state reduced VAT by 2 rupees, and OMCs absorb a 1 rupee hit. But that demand was turned down. The finance ministry clearly believes that it is not advisable to go back to either a subsidy sharing mechanism or act on cutting excise just yet, because that will have a multiplier impact, because the signal it will send out will have an impact on bond yields and then consequently on interest rates, making things even worse for the government. So the path that they would like to take for now is to wait it out, to see how the Iran sanctions impact the oil markets and maybe, if need be, act closer to November post the Iran sanctions coming in. Remember, the government is weighing its options on oil payment for Iranian crude, also hopeful that the dialogue with the US on importing Iranian crude will be fruitful. The message that the political class, especially within the BJP, is going to be sent out is that an excise cut at this point in time will restrict the government's ability to spend on things like Ayushman Bharat, which is the Prime Minister's health insurance program, and other development schemes. So that's going to be the sales pitch to the leaders within the BJP. Separately, there is concern on GST collections, on GST revenue. But North Bloc hopes that the direct tax mop-up will offset the shortfall on the GST front. So at this point in time, extreme caution on announcing any other kind of cut when it comes to the GST, and hopeful that things will pick up there. So net-net, the view is that Wednesday's fall and the dramatic recovery in the rupee suggests and indicates that there was overshooting, and that India is in a much better position among the emerging markets because growth is strong and our fundamentals are good, and hence the government believes that the currency should stabilize.
Right, Shireen, currency should stabilize, and stabilize it has. In fact, just look at the dollar rupee right now, 71.52. That marks a recovery of almost a rupee and 40 paise since Wednesday's lows of 72.9. And when the macros are looking better, it's the financials which move higher, just the way the financials which move lower when the macros aren't looking better. Case in point, India Bulls Housing Finance. In fact, a month-to-date chart of that stock should come up for you. Currently at the high point of the day, India Bulls Housing Finance. But remember, over the last few trading sessions, it had corrected from levels of around 1400, Sonia tells me, to about 1200, and from there we see that recovery. There you have it. So that's as far as India Bulls Housing Finance is concerned. But on the macros itself, we spoke with a whole host of experts on their expectations from this meet, which is likely to take place this weekend. Let's hear out what they had to say.
There is no reason to panic, but the fact is that media has created panic. The fact is that the political system is making a massive issue out of it. So the government has to be seen to be doing something. And I think what the DEA secretary was doing was essentially what the Governor Reserve Bank should have been doing, which is talking the market up. The government has been very measured in the response, and I think they should continue to be so. If at any point the government is seen to be panicking, that would send just the wrong message at the wrong time.
They are sending the message that they believe that the fundamentals of the economy are really sound. They believe that the rupee level is not warranted, the current rupee level that we are seeing. And let's just look at the previous, and they have talked about or hinted that the FCNR, the foreign currency non-resident deposit bonds, are under consideration. Whether they are or not is not really or at issue over here. They are trying to communicate to the market that, listen, we are aware of what's going on, and very emphatically telling the market that this level of the rupee is not warranted by the Indian fundamentals.
The government, as you know, and you've been discussing, came out to say that it would potentially take measures to try to strengthen the currency, or at least control the currency. And of course, there's this meeting this weekend. The RBI had been intervening before that, and it made clear that the government had requested that the RBI intervene more aggressively. So that in and of itself had sort of put a cap on. The ECB delivered on expectations for an end to its QE program and some degree of signaling that it would increase interest rates in 2019, even if it is in the second half.
I would attribute majority of that to the global cues because it's not just a question of the rupee. Generally speaking, the dollar has weakened all over the world in the last 48 hours or so. I don't think there is that great panic or urgency to warrant, inter or meeting measure. We have seen episodes like that in the past. We're not in an episode like that right now. As far as the RBI is concerned, yes, they'll hike next month. They'll hike in December.
15 points on the Nifty, almost a triple century on the Sensex as well as the mid-cap index. Don't lose sight of that. The Nifty bank is 320 points, but the mid-cap index has extended its gains at the high point of the day. And along with that, we have the advanced decline lines, which are at its widest that we've seen in a very long time. 1,500 stocks in the green for almost 550 stocks in the red. 3 in the green for 1 in the red. Not too bad. The financials doing well. Repco Home Finance from the mid-cap space should come up for you. And we have Capital First, Canfin Homes. So these financial stocks, actually, they're doing well because of the underperformance that we saw earlier. A couple of stocks which are doing exceptionally well, Sun Pharma and Spark, they get a boost from the US FDA approval of eye drug Zelpros. Let's get in Ekta Batra for more details. Over to you, Ekta.
Both the stocks are in news on account of the fact that the US FDA has given its approval for ophthalmology drug Zelpros. It is basically an eye drop which is used to treat glaucoma and other such eye conditions. Now, why is this important for Sun Pharma and Spark is because it will add to their specialty pipeline. So, for example, Spark will benefit because they will receive royalty and milestone payments from Sun Pharma with regards to this particular drug. Remember, this drug is manufactured by is basically produced by Spark in license to Sun Pharma, and Sun Pharma will be manufacturing it at its Halol facility. Now, estimates are that the company could make total sales or peak sales of around 50 to $70 million in terms of this particular drug. Plus, it will add to its specialty pipeline, which is a key differentiator these days for Sun Pharma. And remember that eventually the specialty pipeline itself can contribute to around $300 to $500 million in terms of peak sales for Sun Pharmaceuticals. Separately, it also negates concerns for the Halol facility because it had received 6 observations just a few weeks ago. And now with this approval, those observations and the worry from those observations stand negated.
Okay, thanks a lot for that. So that's the reason why Sun Pharma is buzzing. But moving on, Shriram Transport is off the morning lows after the management clarified that the amount involved in SVL is unlikely to have any meaningful impact on the P&L of Shriram Transport. So let's hear out what Umesh Revankar, the managing director and CEO of the company, had to say. Remember, SVL has now been admitted to the bankruptcy process. It's taken an NCLT. So the fear is that there would be corporate guarantees invoked by because of this process, and higher provisioning that the company would have to make. But the management doesn't believe that this could be a big issue. Listen in.
This is between one of the subsidiary of SVL and the customer of that company. There's some business dispute, and the amount should be very small. I think the original amount is around 6 crores advance given. The SVL will be able to handle the dispute. Right now, this particular dispute, that would be addressed by SVL. I don't think it will really need to monetize from the promoter group or capital is what I feel. But going forward, we need to really see how to address that. And last time, if I remember, our founder has already given a clarification that if HDFC investors will not have any impact on this. So it will be taken care by the promoter if there is any such situation.
All right, that is one of the many stocks which are buzzing. In fact, a whole host of stocks are buzzing in trade today. Along with that, some of them on the back of news. Anisha joins us to tell us more about the stocks that are buzzing on the back of news.
Start with KNR Construction. That one is moving higher because the company has basically received a financial closure for one of its HAM projects, that is hybrid annuity model project worth around 1,300 crore rupees. That had been an overhang on the stock, so today it's seeing a bit of positive reaction on that. Moving on to NBCC, wherein the company has been selected to acquire 100% stake in HSCC for around 300 crore rupees. Now this has been in the making for a while, but given the fact that the company's order book is large and they're acquiring it for just 300 crores has been taken positively by the street. Voltas, they have finally launched their home appliances with Beko. Remember, this was expected to happen last year. It has been much delayed, but the positive is that they will be able to ride this festive season demand. So that is a positive for the stock. RCF is in focus because the cabinet had approved transfer of RCF land to MMRDA. So they're basically transferring the development rights, and that is being seen positively by the street. Federal Bank is in focus because the MD and CEO's ESOP shares had to be sold in the market given they could not meet the margin call money requirement. So that was one thing that the stock and the investors are watching out for. And lastly, one space that is buzzing in trade is sugar space. So all these names like Awadh Sugar, Simbhaoli Sugar, Dalmia Bharat, Sakti Sugar, Sri Renuka are all trading higher. We had heard from the management of Balrampur Chini as well, suggesting that they do not expect the price of sugar to reduce going forward. In fact, hear out what the management had to tell us.
I especially like this announcement of the realistic pricing of B heavy from 47.5 to 52.5 and the juice to 59. See, this is the first time I think this price is absolutely realistic. There will be, to begin with, some diversion from sugar into ethanol via the B heavy route. You'll see a lot of bidding happening this time in both C heavy and B heavy made ethanol, and we're hoping a lot of supplies. 10% blending would be a reality very soon, if not this year, next year. I'm looking positively at ethanol, positively at power, and with an export program, I'm not seeing sugar prices go down. if they don't move up substantially, which I don't think they will, they would play in this 31-32 range. So with good capacity, good recovery, extreme integration, and just hoping for some more realism from the state government.
All right, that was
pretty good actually for the market. So one space that has been picking up quite a bit of pace is the sugar space. We were talking about Balrampur Chini a while back, but that whole lot is now up about 15-20%. Dhampur Sugar, Bajaj Hindustan, Triveni, Dwarikesh. I mean, you hit take a dart and hit it in the dark and you'll get it right in the sugar space if you're on the long side, that is. Look at Triveni Engineering up almost about 20-odd%. But moving on, the iconic Taj Mansingh will go under the hammer on the 28th of September, and India's two biggest hospitality players, the ITC Group and the Tata Group, are all set for a tough fight to grab this luxury hotel. Sources tell us that both the companies have submitted their bids for the proposed takeover. Kritika joins in now to give us more details on all of that. Kritika, over to you.
Oh yes, it is the clash of the titans. Two of India's largest hospitality players, ITC and Tata Group's Indian hotels, will be clashing once again for Taj Mansingh. Now, I'll give you a background about the deal later, but to help you understand, the technical bids for this have to be submitted between the 12th of September to the 20th of September. Now, on day one itself, our sources tell us that ITC and Tata Group's Indian hotels have submitted the technical bids. Now, these are technical bids wherein NDMC, that is the New Delhi Municipal Council, will identify who meet the eligibility criteria, and based on that, shortlisted players are going to be identified by the 25th of September. Now, these shortlisted players will be allowed to bid in the e-auction, which is on the 28th of September. It's a complicated process. NDMC has very strict eligibility criteria, and one of them includes the new operator to give a minimum guarantee fee of 3 crore rupees per month in the first year. So that means almost 100 crore rupees over a 3-year period. Now, so far, and here's the important crucial background, Tata Group has been operating Taj Mansingh since 1978, which is when it won the lease to operate the hotel from NDMC. Now, that was for a period of 33 years, which ended in 2011. Since then, Tata Group has gotten 9 temporary exemptions. The property has been embroiled in a legal battle. After that, there have been 3 attempts to sell the property. So this is the 4th attempt. Will NDMC be the 4th time lucky? Will Tata Group retain this iconic property? A lot of questions have been asked over a period of time. If this auction does go through, it is going to be very critical for Indian hotels. And if at all we see ITC or any other player coming in, it is going to be very critical for all the players involved at this juncture.
Absolutely, Kritika. Just before we talk a little more about this, pull up the intraday chart of HDFC Bank. The Nifty is closing in on that 11,500 mark. The Nifty Bank as well as the Sensex at the high point of the day, extending its gains. And the last bit of a move has come in primarily on account of HDFC Bank, the second heaviest weight on the index, moving with that gusto, taking the markets higher. But talking about the Taj versus ITC battle, as far as the battle for Taj Mansingh is concerned, for the listed stock Indian hotels, Taj Mansingh contributes about 5% to their revenue and nearly about 7% to their EBITDA. Analysts believe that if the auction does happen and Indian Hotels loses this property, it could be an impact of close to around 8 to 10 rupees per share of Indian Hotels. The impact would be lesser if Taj Mansingh is back with Indian Hotels, lesser to the extent of the amount that they have to pay to renew and the increase in license fees that Kritika was talking about, 100 crore odd for 3 years. For ITC, it will be important to know how much are they bidding for the property, how much will they spend in renovation, by when does this property become operational and start talking about or start adding to their revenue, contributing to their financials, and more importantly, what does it do to its return on equity, return on capital employed? Because out here itself on CNBC-TV18, Sanjeev Puri had said they will follow an asset-right strategy for their hotel business.
Okay, well, don't lose sight of the market though. It's at the high point of trade right now. As Mangalam was pointing out, it's the HDFC twins, both HDFC and HDFC Bank, that are really yanking up the market at the moment. But clearly, this short covering rally has continued for 2 days now. Let's see how things progress in the last hour of trade. But in some tragic news, at least 40 people have lost their lives in Bareilly and the adjoining Badaun district of Uttar Pradesh because of the high fever in the last 14 days. The parasite, which causes the most dangerous form of malaria, Plasmodium falciparum, may be to be blamed for these deaths. The heavy rainfall this season and the subsequent floods are now creating a health nightmare in Uttar Pradesh. Lack of proper campaign awareness and sanitation on part of local administration has further added to the panic in the state. Meanwhile, 3 teams of doctors have been constituted to look into the cases, and necessary medicines are also being distributed at the moment.